Hey, what is up everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about my latest build, which is a 1983 Peugeot PH10s. I was basically browsing Craigslist a few months ago, which I shouldn't be doing, looking at all the bikes, and I saw this on there for, I think it was around $100, I can't remember. I told the guy in a nice email, hey, you could probably get that for it since the bike's all there, all original, but if you ever just want it out of there, I would give you $35 for it. He came back to me with, $40 and it's yours, and I'm not going to argue over $5. So, as I say, I spent $40 on stupider stuff than that. So I went and got it. The main thing that caught my eye was just this paint job. I just absolutely love it. I love this era Peugeot logo, and this blue with the orange. I just thought it was cool. I had no plans for it. I thought, maybe I'd even just hang it on the wall down here somewhere. But then on a couple of the live streams, I started to tinker around with it. I grabbed some 700C wheels and realized converting down from the 27-inch that it came with, I could fit pretty wide tires on here. And I'm like, if I could get tires this wide on here, it might be an interesting bike to build up for fun. So I basically just went to the parts that I had. I found some brakes that were able to reach the 700C wheels. And the reason that's important is because 700 is a little smaller. So you need brakes that could reach them. And then that's also what gives you the clearance for the wider tires than you'd normally be able to get on a vintage road bike. And then I also decided I have enough vintage road bikes built up that if I'm going to do something with this, even if it's mostly from my parts bins, that it should be a little unique. So I put on these bars that used to be on my Trek mountain bike before I switched that to the Surly corner bars. Kind of wider tires, flat bars, and decided to just go down that route and to see how this bike feels. Truth be told, I haven't even ridden it yet. I got out a little bit and I started to head down my alley behind the studio here, and the tire I had originally put on the front, which was a 42 mil Rene Ayres, was rubbing on the brakes. So I switched it out to a 38 millimeter Gravel King. It seems to be fitting fine. In the back, I have a Kenda, which is a 40 millimeter tire, called the Flint Ridge Pro. The reason I know this is kind of a cheaper bike even when I bought it and why my offer was that, I saw that it had top tube shifters. It's rare for there to be a bike that's that nice with top tube shifters from that era. I saw that it was a Carbolite 103 frame. Carbolite is basically Peugeot's high 10, so it's straight gauge steel tubing. I have another Peugeot that I've ridden thousands of miles on that's made out of Carbolite, slightly nicer than this, but similar. The ride quality is really good, and it's not ultra heavy, it's just heavier. When I got it, I saw that it does have sheet metal dropouts, which, are cheaper than a nicer bike would have. Forged dropouts, usually with some branding on it, whether that be Simplex or Campy or even the brand that built the bike. So the 700C wheels I put on here, on the front is a Mavic SUP rim, and it's laced, radial laced, to a NukeProof hub, which is pretty cool. That's a wheel I bought off of a Facebook group a long time ago and had on a couple different bikes, but then it's just kind of been sitting here waiting for the right project. In the back, it's a 600 Shimano hub, so basically they're all Tegra before it had that name, laced to a Matrix wheel, and that wheel came off of a Schwinn Paramount that I've shown on the stream before. So that's kind of a nicer wheel too. That one has a 7-speed freewheel on it. Unfortunately, it's an in-between era for Shimano parts. So I wanted to get a wider range cassette, since I'm just friction shifting. So I thought maybe I could get something that would go wider. They told me at Dirty River they're pretty rare because it was just a very short-lived standard of that. I'm kind of sticking with that for now. We'll see how it works. So yeah, original front chain rings. Yeah, that's the whole point of today's, the next part of today's video is to get out and see how this bike actually rides if it needs to be modified. Before I do that, I have a couple finishing touches I need to do. I'm going to put some toe cages on these pedals, and I didn't put any of the cable ends on yet. So I'm going to get that done and get it out on the road and talk about what this kind of little Frankenstein build for fun that didn't cost a lot of money actually rides like and feels like. I am getting a little bit of frame rub in the chain stays, I guess, as the tire probably got a little probably stretched a little. So probably gonna have to go and try and find like a 38 Gravel King to put on the rear. Still reasonably wide tires for a vintage bike though. All right, a little too windy to carry on here by the lake. We'll move on, talk more soon. A couple more thoughts on this thing. Yeah, the gearing's way too hard, especially for how I intend to ride it. You know, if it had narrower, slick tires and it was just going to be a city bike, you know, it'd probably be all right. But the fact that I'm out here now on the gravel, I could tell it's like I'm in the easiest gear just to ride down here over the rougher stuff. So need to do something about that, probably change the rear wheel at some point, and since the tire's rubbing anyways, all that might have to be adjusted. But yeah, it feels good. Saddle loops broke, so I had to hook my belay straps around the saddle rails. So I didn't really plan to keep this saddle on here. I guess it's looks like some kind of a turbo knockoff. It's really hard, but it's surprisingly not that uncomfortable. It must just fit me. But I can imagine if I went for a long ride on this, which I don't know if I'll ever do, but it would end up getting pretty rough. But might try that knockoff Brooks that I've showed before on this bike. So we'll see. A couple adjustments to make, but it's a fun bike to ride still, even out here on the gravel. Handles really well, so comfortable, soft. So yeah. So gonna go for a ride through the downtown gravel, try it out a little more off-road, and then get back to the studio with some final thoughts. So anyways, turned out to be a really fun ride. I think with a couple adjustments, it'll be that bike I just grab when I want to ride something different, but also not be limited to what surface I'm on. Anyways, I hope you like this video, more like this to come, and give it that like, and go to the links below and buy some of my stuff. Peace.